Okay, good afternoon, everybody. We are Team 8. Today we will be presenting about Notco, which is a Chilean tech company. Notco is basically a company that takes products such as mayonnaise and they develop it with plant-based protein, basically making it no egg, no soy, gluten-free, low cholesterol, non-GMO, completely natural. How do they do this? They actually have an algorithm which they call Giuseppe, which is inspired in an Italian painter that used to create faces and fruits out of vegetables. And in very, very simple terms, they basically take an animal-based product, such as an egg, for example. They analyze this molecular structure with their database. Giuseppe then cross-references that with a plant database, and they actually create a new, complete plant-based product, such as not mayo, not milk, not ice cream, and not yogurt, soon in stores. The plant-based industry is an industry that's actually growing exponentially. It's expected to grow by 40% from 2019 to 2023. It is also an industry that is heavily influenced by big game companies such as Unilever, Nestlé, or Danone actually buying and acquiring startups. So what is happening is that this is a blue ocean that's quickly turning red. This is a very trending topic. We can all see it on our Instagram feeds, on WSJ. Plant-based industry is here to stay. So basic problem is how can Notco, which is basically the David versus Goliath scenario, actually strafe away from this red ocean and set sail towards the blue one?
So our first solution to the strong competition in the plant-based industry is for Notco to use their algorithm for other applications such as healthcare. Because Giuseppe accurately compares plant and protein-based molecules, it has a potential to compare human genomes, which is our database, our genetic material, which is our DNA, to disease gene databases to create specialized treatments for patients. Which brings us to regenerative medicine. Regenerative medicine encompasses stem cells, regenerative tissue, and organ transplants. We're focusing more on genomics, which is the study of the sequencing and analysis of human DNA with Giuseppe. So looking at their current business, we're eliminating their involvement in the food industry and their research that develops advanced food substitutes. We're reducing the comparison between plant and animal protein molecules. Instead, the strategy is to develop their algorithm and apply it to analyze the human DNA. This way, we are creating a more accurate method to apply regenerative medicine customized towards the patient. We're focusing on the application of Giuseppe. It can generate predictive models of disease detection by dissecting a patient's DNA and comparing it to a disease gene database for identification. Then leading to a more accurate diagnosis and tailored treatments utilizing engineered stem cells, immune cells, regenerative tissue. Therefore, the clinical outcome is creating precise treatments, retention of future patients, and overall lowering the complexity of regenerative medicine and the cost of these treatments.
So the biggest opportunity that Notco saw was an increasing demand for accurate and tailored treatments. The stem cell therapy market will reach $15 billion in 5 years from now. And the weakness is that to use Giuseppe, you need data, which is really expensive to purchase. But we are confident that once we have that data, scientists will be able to exploit the algorithm and treat each and every case that comes their way to come up with nice solutions, which are cheaper also. The biggest threat is that this is a disruptive technology. Notco can lead the market for a few years, but competition will eventually follow. And government regulations, if they are not favorable, we might not be able to continue with our research and development. The industry analysis, the threat of new entrants. Giuseppe is, it's a very complex algorithm and it needs to be fed copious amounts of data to work. And it needs a lot of expertise to maintain and keep innovating. Barring a few, it will be very difficult for private people to invest and make their own algorithms. The bargaining power for buyers is medium to low because if there are more than 2 treatments available for the same situation, people will definitely go for the cheaper one. And the threat of substitutes is also medium because while stem cell therapies are new, substitutes might come up in the future. And 2 factors that affect us that we are uncertain about is government regulations and artificial intelligence usage. In the first possibility, we see that there's a restricted level of development in medicine research due to government ownership, which means that only the government will use artificial intelligence in its research. In the second possibility, we are seeing that there's a prevention of artificial intelligence development within any industry. The government is regulating it and it is discouraging its use, just like cryptocurrency and bitcoins. The government regulates it, it does not allow to use it. The third is that artificial intelligence turns out to be valueless. the cost of using artificial intelligence in medical research is more than the benefits we can actually derive out of it. And the fourth scenario is that artificial intelligence is successful and it is highly used in medical research by private people.
When researching the Blue Ocean strategy, one of the first things we did was see that we weren't quite satisfied with what it was offering, the tools that we could use, and the conclusions we could come to. So we dug it a little bit deeper. We found a theory or a strategy called the Purple Ocean strategy. The foundation of that is that the blue and the red oceans aren't as separated as has been assumed previously. Rather, it's a very big red ocean with some blue ponds scattered around. And slowly but surely, the red oceans, the blood from those oceans is sickering into the blue ponds and giving it the distinctive purple color. The solution and what they are proposing is that instead of trying to create new demand, we should look at what kind of demand is already out there, see what is not catered to, and start demand in. So we analyze demand and make a product that will cater to that. What we think is a perfect application to that are vaccines. So the status quo is that vaccines take 10 to 15 years to be approved. They go through 5 stages, and after that, they still aren't produced, aren't shipped out, and aren't lobbied to doctors and clinics to be actually used. So what we are thinking is that we can use the value proposition of the AI algorithm Giuseppe that Notco has developed, reverse that completely, and dig into the research and discovery phases of vaccine development. That means that instead of perfectly fixing and perfectly finding the best match to replicate something, we analyze the virus that's currently out there, see which proteins are sticking out, and then manufacture and tailor a perfect antidote and a perfect antibody that will latch onto that virus, producing a vaccine a lot quicker and a lot more effectively than by trial and error as it has been previously used in vaccine discovery. Looking at the value innovation for vaccines and using the ERC framework, we are again completely eliminating any involvement in the food industry, and the research is no longer used for substituting food items. We are reducing the mimicking of animal proteins, and we are focusing more on virus proteins. At the same time, we're raising the ability to reapply Giuseppe. We are changing the algorithm a little bit and advancing it, and by that we are accelerating the vaccines R&D process by a multi-fold, reducing the time needed for vaccine development.
Vaccine analysis, it has its strengths and its weaknesses. Strengths, shorter time to develop. That is because artificial intelligence can process significantly more information than the human brain. Weaknesses, differentiation and evolution of viruses is quick, and there's little or no data at the start. Opportunities, global pharmaceutical market is projected to reach 1,170 billion in revenue by 2021. Then threats, when working with AI, there's always a possibility of a breakdown. Industry analysis, threat of new entrants is quite low. That is like due to high startup costs, and also artificial intelligence takes years to train. It also takes time to build up the data that's going to support it. Bargaining power of suppliers, medium, because there's a handful of suppliers that are capable of doing the research for us. Also threat of substitutes, medium low, because traditional vaccines take time to produce. Axis of uncertainty, status quo, high government involvement. Then if we move to a situation with low government regulation, and that is going to lead to experiments without purposes, and also it's also going to lead to inefficiency. Then in a world with high AI usage and also low government regulation, that is going to lead to a free market environment, which increases competition, but at the same time there's a possibility of collusion and also potential price fixing. The fourth scenario is high government regulation and also high AI usage. That is going to lead to high World Health Organization involvement, also lead to unification across countries.
So as a way to recap all the information we have just said, the advantages of using regenerative medicine would be to lower the complexity of stem cell research and thus making it much cheaper and faster to develop. The limitations are that, again, we are dependent on the amount of information we have on the disease and the actual effectiveness of the algorithm Giuseppe to accurately pinpoint the gene. In vaccines, the advantages are Notco comes back to being a tech company, which was their initial value proposition, and we decrease the time intensity it takes to develop a vaccine, which as we said previously was 10 to 15 years. The limitations here is, do people trust AI enough to develop an antidote, allowing us to actually skip out a complete test phase? Having said that, we will now open a 5-minute Q&A session.
analysis, you mentioned weaknesses on how to get access to data. Have you investigated on options to do so?
So there's already genetic banks, so GeneBank is a database available to medical research, and you do have to pay a certain amount of money to access certain gene databases, but they're already there and available for use to implement inside the algorithm.
And they're expensive.
Yeah.
Kind of building upon that. Firstly, I honestly love the presentation. I was so engaged like the whole time. But so, like Matt said, data is also a big concern of mine because although there's access, there's a lot of like friction and delay time in actually tailoring this data to exactly what you need, cleaning it, cutting it, trimming it. Have you guys considered like, given the time lag or the friction between actually implementing that, is there other competition or regulation that could come in and kind of invalidate that whole process in that timeline?
So currently there is CRISPR technology which allows enzymes to cut specific parts in the DNA and do so. However, there is error that can be involved in that. In terms of competition, because that error, that there's an error, like a certain error percentage, AI technology, because it's so accurate and because we have all the data for the human genome already sequenced and analyzed, the purpose of Giuseppe is to take the genetic disease database and compare it to that. And as of our current research, there hasn't been any competition in that realm of comparing diseases. There's been diagnosis and or other studies of cancer, however, not specific to human genome directly to the disease database.
Follow up.
Yeah.
And, so, okay, I get that point, thanks. And, what I wanna say is like also in the general delay of like that happening, do you guys know like, is it how long it might take roughly, or like whether they've considered the cost of that, and whether it's feasible from a resource standpoint to devote that much time and resource to just, kind of cater and clean up that data?
So the data, I might have misinterpreted this, correct me if I'm wrong, the databases are already there, so the genes have already been studied. It's just the application of it to make a more streamlined version in order to pinpoint the actual disease within a gene. So there's already been specific studies that AI has been used to accurately diagnose a patient faster than 11 pathologists, and this is in cancer research. And it's 95% more accurate than 11 pathologists combined. So the accuracy is there, and like, so what was that last part of your question?
Oh, just if
If
I
it's
think you almost
feasible,
answered it, if it's like gonna take too long, if it's feasible to get to that stage. So.
It's definitely feasible to get to that state. It honestly just depends on the algorithm. Again, with our analysis, it's theoretical. It still has to be studied. It still has to be tested. So it's definitely a theory that we can use this algorithm because of the accuracy to implement it into the industry. That still has to be done.
And adding on to that, if I may, the whole point of artificial intelligence is that the learning curve is exponential. So the more time you give it to study, the quicker the process and the progress is made will be. So we do believe that it is a feasible option to be considered. Thank you for your question. Yeah.
Could you go back to the recap, just one? Okay, this is a super simple question. Which of these two different ideas would you recommend this company take if it could only pursue one of them?
Vaccines versus regenerative medicine.
Yes.
Regenerative medicines.
Yeah.
Because vaccines are like, they're preventables, but then we want to avoid, so if you're blind, I'd rather give you eyes instead of a vaccine.
Okay.
And adding on to that, for regenerative medicine, because it can accurately compare to protein and plant molecules, the accuracy is there. However, the database for information on vaccines is not, because vaccines differentiate much faster than certain genes in the human body.
Okay. So you're giving me the comparison between these two and how you'd end up at regenerative medicine, not vaccines. And the answer you just gave me is in part from the technology side, right? that what I just heard?
From the data availability.
Yeah, data availability.
Thank you. Do any of your reasons to lean towards regenerative medicine stem from the industry analysis or the scenario planning that you did?
Ted, I'm sorry to cut you off. It did stem off from the analysis of the tech company that we analyzed, but the 5 minutes are virtually up. I would like to say again, the advantages are making everything much quicker, reducing costs, and the limitations are how quickly can we train this, as well as Agni's issue, and do people actually trust AI enough to develop technology, medicine? Thank you.